Why the limitations? The students answered.
I haven't gotten any time.
We haven't done any of that stuff since about the 3rd grade.
Who's got the time?
That is not my major.
You can imagine the responses asked of an older audience. What went wrong between kindergarten and now? Whatever happened to, yes, of course I can. I've become so caught up in my grown-up stuff. It seems I've lost my spontaneity, not to mention perspective on living life. Every
teased a lot by his classmates, causing him to live on the fringe of kindergarten society.
Well, Norman, what are you going to be?
Well, I'm going to be the pig.
The pig? But there is no pig in Cinderella.
Well, there is now.
Norman did not relate to being a pig, or a mouse, or a pumpkin.
He knew his character. Pig.
And he wasn't about to give up his part to stand over the wall where a loser would stand.
Norman intended to participate wherever pigs fit into the scheme of things, without giving up dignity or identity. He took it for granted, and he hoped the teacher would know that.
So, what do you say to a kid who's already thinking of a costume of pink long underwear, a pipe in her tail, and a cup for a nose?
And what do you say to an innocent little pig who doesn't see his career as an actor teetering at the brink of utter humiliation?
And what do you say to all the pigs? All those who are different and don't accept the available boxes and pigeonholes?
So, what did the teacher say?
Well, sometimes teachers act more like fairy godmothers.
Well, so be it.
Norman was declared the pig of the story, Cinderella.
It was quite okay with the rest of the class. Nobody else wanted to be a pig anyhow.
And since there was nothing in the script explaining what the pig was supposed to do, the action was left up to Norman. As it turned out, Norman gave one of the best walk-on parts in children's theater. He decided to be Cinderella's personal pig. Wherever she went, he went.
He made no sound. He simply sat in his back haunches, observing what was going on, like some silently supportive Greek chorus.
The expressions on his face reflected the details of the dramatic action. Looking worried,
Sad.
Mad,
hopeful,
puzzled,
Sick.
there was no doubt what was going on, and no doubt that it was important.
one look at the pig and you knew. The pig was so earnest, so sincere, so very there.
Norman created such dramatic tension that people who knew how the story was supposed to end began to have their doubts.
And at the climax, when the ecstatic couple hugged and rode off to live happily ever after, Norman finally made his move. He went wild and quick, jumping on his back feet, and barking.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
The teacher tried explaining to Norman that even if there was a pig in Cinderella, there is no such thing as a dancing, parking pig.
Well, there is now.
It next chapter takes place on July 2nd, 1982, and appears in televisions and in newspapers across the country.
There's Larry Walters up in the air over Los Angeles.
Really getting up there. Still sitting in his aluminum lawn chair, but except now it's up to 45 helium-filled surplus weather balloons.
And Larry has a parachute on, a CB radio, a six-pack of beer, some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and a BB gun to shoot some of the balloons to come down.
But instead of just being a couple hundred feet over his neighborhood, he shot off 11,000 feet right through the approach corridor to Los Angeles International Airport. This is a true story.
The human race sticks in its share. Some saying there's nothing left to do.
And others saying that the human situation is hopeless.
Meanwhile, the Larry Walters of the world have been tied balloons to their chairs.
When asked by the press why he did it, he said,
You can't just sit there.
When asked if he was scared, he said.
You bet.
When asked if he would do it again, he said.
Nope.
When asked, are you glad you did it?
"Are you glad you did it?"
Are you glad you did it? He grinned from ear to ear and said.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes.
If the dream is held close to the heart,
And imagination is applied to whatever is close at hand.
everything is still possible.
This is kind of personal. It started as a note to my wife, and then I thought that since some of you might feel the same way, I passed it along. I don't know the story anyway. Charles Boyer does. Remember Charles Boyer? Suave, dapper, handsome, graceful. Lover of the most famous, beautiful woman on the silver screen. That was on camera in the fan magazines. In real life, it was different. There was only one woman for 44 years. His wife, Patricia. Friends said it was a lifelong love. They were no less lovers and friends and companions after 44 years than after the first. Then Patricia developed cancer of the liver. And so he stayed by her side to provide hope and cheer day and night for 6 months. But he couldn't change the inevitable. And Patricia died in his arms. 2 days later, Charles Boyer was also dead. He said he didn't want to live without her. He said her love was life. And this is no movie. As I say, it's the real story. Charles Boyer's story. Now, it's not for me to judge how he handled his grief, because he hadn't committed suicide. But it is for me to say that I'm touched and comforted in a strange way. Touched by the deep love behind the Hollywood love life, and comforted to know that two people can love each other that much, that long. I don't know what I would do if I was in this situation. I pray I never have to stand in his shoes. Here comes the personal part. No apologies. There are moments when I look across the room, I'm in the daily ordinariness of life and see the woman I call my wife, and my friend and companion. And though I may not understand why he did what he did, I know how he felt. It really is possible to love someone that much. I know. I'm absolutely certain.
Talking with a friend on the phone. She has a bad case of midwinter spiritual rot and a terminal cold she's had since September.
So what? You don't ever get depressed, do you?
Are you kidding? There are times when I get so low it takes an extension ladder to climb out.
So what do
or rum, or yoga, or even deep sleep. It's Beethoven. I put on his Ninth Symphony, pull my earphones down tight, and lie down on the floor. The music comes on like the first creation. And I think about old Mr. B. He knew a whole lot about depression and unhappiness. He moved around from place to place, trying to find the right place. Had a lousy love life. Quarreled with his friends all the time. Mr. B wanted to be a virtuoso pianist. He wanted to sing well too. But when he was still quite young, he began to lose his hearing. Which is usually bad news for pianists and singers. By 1818, when he was only 48, he was stone cold deaf. Which makes it all the more amazing that he finished his Great Ninth Symphony 5 years later. He never really heard it. He just thought it. So I lie there with my earphones on, wondering if I could have ever felt a Beethoven the way it sounds in my head. The crescendo rises. My sternum starts to vibrate. By the time the kettle drowns out all those final big chords, I'm on my feet, singing along in gibberish German with the mighty choir, jumping up and down during the final awesome moments of the end of the world and the coming of God and all his angels. Hallelujah, hallelujah! Woo! Kaboom! Bang! Lord! Uplifted, exalted, excited, affirmed, and overwhelmed. Man alive! Out of all that sorrow and trouble, out of all that frustration and disappointment, out of all that deep and permanent silence, came all that majesty and joy. He defied his fate with jubilation. And I can't just sit around in my winter ash heap, wringing my hands, feeling sorry for myself in the face of that music. Not only does it wipe out spiritual rot, it probably cures colds too. Someday, some incredible December night when I'm very rich, I'm gonna rent me a grand hall, a great choir, and a mighty symphony orchestra. Stand on the podium and conduct the night. And I will personally play the kettle drum part all the way through to the glorious end, while simultaneously singing along at the very top of my lungs. And in the awesome silence that follows, I will thank all the gods that be for Ludwig von Beethoven, for his night and his life.
Rap on the door was sharp, urgent, insistent, a foreboding of crisis. Me, rushing to the door, fumbling with the lock, my adrenaline pumping, preparing for emergency. Small boy, odd expression, handing me a scrawled note on much folded paper. My name is Donnie. Leaves for you. $1 a yard. I'm deaf. You can write to me. I can read. I write good. Now, behind our house is this tall row of middle-aged maple trees, extravagantly decked out in a million-leaf sequins. And in season, the sequins detach and lie themselves about the feet of these matrons, like dressing gowns they've just stepped out of for preparation for the bath of winter. I like the way it looks. I like the way it looks very much.
His wife does not. The gardening magazine does not like it either.
accusation in the air of laziness.
We have been through this before.
But this year, our bargain has been struck in the name of the scientific method.
Half the yard will be properly raked.
And the other half will be left in the care of nature. Come summer, we shall see.
And so my half is raked.
And mine is not.
We shall see.
Yes, we will. In a way, the trees are there because of the leaves. Zillions of seeds have helicoptered out of the sky to green the earth. The seeds follow to protect and nourish the next generation of trees. But stony ground, rot, birds, bacteria, and people all interfere. But somehow, some seeds make it. Some tenacious seeds take hold and hold on for dear life. And they plant themselves to become the next generation. This process has been going on for ages. Having messed with this process at our peril, say I, this is important. My name is Donnie. I will rake your leaves for you. $1 a yard. I am deaf. You can write to me. I can read. I rake good. The boy holds a paper and pencil to quote from patience and goodwill. How can I explain to him the importance of the scientific experiment going on in my backyard? He turns to go, and quickly, I take the paper and pencil and write, yes, I would like you to rake my leaves. There's a grave nod from the attentive businessman child. Do you rake them when they are wet? Yes. Do you have your own rake? This yard is pretty big. I think I'll give you $2. $3? We have a contract. The rake is procured, and Donnie the deaf leaf raker goes to work in the fast-falling November twilight. In silence he rakes, and in silence I watch him from the window of my dark house. Are there any sounds at all in his mind? I wonder. He rakes the leaves into a large pile, as instructed. Of course, once he's gone, I'll spread them out all over the yard again. I'm stubborn about this. But he goes back over the yard and picks up any of the missed leaves by hand and places them into the pile. He's stubborn about his values. Raking the leaves means all the leaves. He reports to the door and signs to me that he must go home to eat. Having paid him in advance, I wonder if he'll return. My age, I'm getting cynical. But come the next day, he's returned to the task. And after much meticulous work, the artist will be free. I see him stoop down and pick up some of the brightest yellow leaves and stuff them into the pocket of his shirt, along with a handful of helicopter seeds. He reports to the door and signs to me that the work is complete. As I watch him walk up the street, I see him toss one helicopter seed into the air after another, a fringe benefit. And I stand in my own door in silence, smiling at his grace, a fringe benefit. Tomorrow, I will go out and push that pile of leaves over the embankment behind our home. I will do it in silence. The leaves will just have to work out their own destinies this year. I wouldn't have the heart to undo his work. My scientific experiment will just have to stand aside for something more human. The leaves have let go. The trees have let go. And it's time for me to let go and cast my lot with this child, who, like the sea, is another one of nature's tenacious survivors. Hold on, Donnie. Hold on.
sink straight.
Plunge out the toilet.
Clean up babies when they poop and pee.
Wipe runny noses. Clean up the floor when the baby throws up strange spinach.
Scrape up the kitty litter. Clean up the dog poop.
Bury dead pets when they get run over in the street.
When you can do these things, then you will be adults.
Some of the students might not want to go on at this point, but they might as well face the truth. Taking out the garbage of this life is a condition of membership in the community.
Being an adult is dirty work.
But someone has to do it!
Summer of 1959 at the Feather River Inn, near the town of Blairstown in the Sierra Nevada mountains in Northern California. A resort community. And I, just out of college, have a job that combines being the night desk clerk in the lodge and helping out with the horse wrangling at the stables. The owner/manager is Italian Swiss, with European notions about employment. I think he's a fascist who wants peasant employees who know their place, and he thinks I'm a perfect example of how democracy can be carried too far. Anyway, one week, the employees had been served the same thing for lunch every single day. 2 wieners, a mound of sauerkraut, and stale rolls. To compound insult with injury, the cost of the meals was deducted from our check. I was outraged. But back to the story. On Friday night of this awful week, I was at my desk job around 11 o'clock, and the night auditor had just come on duty. I went to the kitchen to get a bite to eat. I found notes to the chef to the effect that wieners and kraut were on the employee menu for 2 more days.
That tears it! I quit!
For want of any better audience, I unloaded on the night auditor, Sigmund Bowman.
I have had it up to here. I'm going to get a plate of wieners and sauerkraut, wake up the owners and throw it out. I'm sick and tired of this crap, and insulted too. Nobody's gonna make me eat wieners and sauerkraut for an entire week and make me pay for it too. Who does he think he is? How can life be sustained on wieners and sauerkraut? It's un-American, and I don't even like wieners and sauerkraut enough to eat it for one day, for God's sakes. And this hometown stinks, and the horses are all nags, and the guests are idiots. And I'm packing my bags and heading for Montana, where they never even heard of wieners and sauerkraut, and would it be that's not 2 pigs?
Something like that. I raved on this way for 20 minutes and needn't repeat it all here. You get the drift. My monologue was delivered at
At the top of my lungs!
punctuated
My
by
balls on the front
the
desk!
kicking of chairs,
And much profanity!
a call to arms.
Freedom, unions, uprisings, a breaking of chains for the working masses!
As I pitched my fit, Sigmund Bowman, the night auditor, sat there watching me with sorrowful eyes. Put a bloodhound in a suit, you have Sigmund Bowman. But he's got good reason to look sorrowful. Auschwitz, 3 years, German Jew. He liked being alone at that job. It gave him intellectual space, gave him peace and quiet, and even more, he could go into the kitchen whenever he wanted to and have a snack. Call the wieners and kraut he wanted. To him, a feast. But more than that, there was no one around at night to tell him what to do. In Auschwitz, he dreamed of such a time. The only person he sees at work is me, the nightly disturber of his dream. Our shifts overlap for an hour, and here I am again, a one-man war party at full cry.
Ah!
Are you finished?
No! Why?
Listen to me. It's not about this job. It's not about the wieners and crowd. It's not about the boss, and it's not the chef.
Then what's wrong with me?
You don't know the difference between an inconvenience and a problem. If you have nothing to eat, if you break your neck, if your house is on fire, then you've got a problem. Everything else is just inconvenience. Life is inconvenient. Life is Good night.
There in the late night darkness of the Feather River Inn, Singing and Bowman simultaneously kicked my butt and opened a window in my mind. Problem or inconvenience? It's the Bowman test of reality. Life is lumpy, but a lump in the oatmeal, a lump in the throat, and a lump in the breast are not the same lump. We should learn to know the difference. Good night, Sig.
There's this bench in the city where I live. Its structure is simple. 3 slabs of smooth gray granite. And having checked with a compass to be certain, I can tell you that this bench has been carefully placed so that the long sides face east and west, and ends point north and south. This sturdy seat has been placed with purpose on the highest ground, the highest hill in the city. So when the sky is clear of a summer morning, you can see almost 60 miles in 3 directions. This bench is in fact a tombstone in a cemetery. And I would take it there to sit if I could. You wouldn't feel uncomfortable sitting on it, I promise. You probably wouldn't even notice what it was at first. It's right on the edge of a paved lane that curves the burial grounds. It's a place that you're clearly invited to use it. The placement of the bench, the consciousness of the view, all say that someone went to a lot of trouble to be useful in death. A parting gesture of quiet generosity has been made. Funerals have certain narcissism, a focus on self. What I want from my funeral, what I want from my epitaph. A very human holding on to identity as long as breath and granite can last. But to me, tombstones are markers of loneliness. But this bench is another story. Unique. First of all, there's no name inscribed on it, no conventional epitaph, no dates, just an open invitation to sit and think. What marks this grave is the gift of silent companionship that bridges loneliness. This bench has become a spiritual retreat for me over the years. And I know that I'm not the only one to use it. Because once, I found a note taped over the bench. Not for me. For a young woman. From a young man who was in love with her. Wrote her poetry with great passion. And no, not sorry I seemed. And yes, I put it back as I found it. And no, I didn't hide in the bushes and wait and see who came with the note. Secret lovers have enough problems as it is. But it was on this bench, the summer morning after one of those milestone birthdays, that I came to that moment where one crosses over from the abstract intellectual knowledge that all human beings die, to the active realization that I will die. Me. I will not be, sooner or later. Not only did I realize that I will die, but I walked away thinking, well, it's okay. I connect that moment of enlightenment with the peculiar sanctuary of the bench, and whoever provided it. This bench will last hundreds of years. Many people will sit on it and think, not of the name of its owner, but of the nameless joys of this sweet life and the mystery of death.